All right, guys, welcome back into another NFL DFS video. My name is Eric Polzin with 9 to 5 Sports. Going to be breaking down the Week 8 core plays here for you guys. And just right off the bat, I will say, this is finally a slate in which, on paper, it's not easy. Okay, the last few weeks and kind of just this whole season, except for like 1 week, have been pretty easy to find which players you should be on, which players are the safe plays, and kind of which stacks you should be on. This week is difficult in the sense that we have a lot of quality of plays, okay? I would say there's a lack of quote-unquote core plays because we have a ton of really solid plays, okay, at some solid price points. So that's been my biggest struggle this week thus far, is establishing like how to properly value a player over another player because we have a lot of solid quality options. So we'll dive down into this, try to figure out which players we should be on over the other ones. Okay. If you guys enjoy this coverage, make sure to like and subscribe. As always, that helps the channel out, which helps me be able to help you guys out more. We got to 4,000 subscribers this past week. So just want to give a thank you guys for that support. Next goal, 5,000. All right. Let's see if we can do that before the new year. Fingers crossed. All right, let's get into the top picks for Week 8. So as always, I do like to start off with the quarterback spot. Sure, Jalen Hurts is a player that you can play if you want to. I don't mind him as a quarterback play. You know, last week was his worst week of the season thus far against Dallas. Kind of a random thing. Going against Pittsburgh, you do expect him to go off. But honestly, I'm just going to take the price discount for Joe Burrow, a guy that I got on the Friday's cash plays video because, well, he just seemed like a super safe play. Now, obviously, we got lucky with him scoring 42 DK points. I was playing him to get like 20 DK points to get that safety. Okay, and that's going to be my thought process once again for Joe Burrow this week. The thing with him is he has been super consistent, and that's kind of what I want out of the quarterback position, especially when we're not paying up too much. His 2 worst games were, 16 DK points and 18 DK points thus far. That is a very solid, safe floor, a floor that I do want to be chasing. So Joe Burrow this week does make a ton of sense. He is someone I'm going to be starting out a lot of my builds with. So after Joe Burrow, I also do like Tua Tagovailoa going against the Detroit Lions. Okay, this is a matchup that you've been targeting pretty much the whole season, and I see no reason for that to change this week. Okay, the Detroit Lions are the 4th best matchup on the slate. They're giving up an average of 28.8 DK points to opposing quarterbacks and about like 27 more passing yards to opposing quarterbacks. Okay, so Tua Tagovailoa in this matchup with Detroit should be an easy matchup, should be one in which he should be able to go off and get to 3x or so. The issue with Tua really is that the lack of touchdowns. He had that one big game, and then since then really has not had a big touchdown game. Now, yes, we don't really count weeks 4 and 3 for obvious reasons. So the 16 or so DK points against Pittsburgh was fine. We'll take that, but we want that to be a little bit more, So Tua, I have been struggling to get on over Joe Burrow, but like if you're at that price point range, I'm perfectly fine with it. He is someone that I do think will be able to go for 20 DK points or so. All right, now looking at Davis Mills. Once again, the reason why I like Davis Mills this week is it is a price point play. Last week, he was a very cheap player that was likely to 3x. He was able to score 20 DK points, okay? That was against the Las Vegas Raiders, a matchup in which you've been wanting to target this season. Well, now he's going against the Tennessee Titans, another defense in which you want to be targeting this season, okay? The Tennessee Titans are about like the 5th best matchup on the slate. It's pretty close between them and some other defenses, giving up about 19.5 DK points per game. So Davis Mills at 5.2 really didn't get a big price bump for throwing 2 touchdowns and 300 passing yards. That is something I think could happen again in this game. Not really a play that you like are really gung-ho about, but once again, if you're trying to pay up for studs, he is a logical play at 5.2, a player that could easily get to 18 DK points for you on this slate. And then Sam Ellinger, I do think we need to just bring attention to him as a play because at 4K, that is a super cheap price point for a guy that's going to be starting. Okay, really, it doesn't take too much from the value. It really takes like 150 passing yards and a touchdown. It takes Justin Fields numbers, okay? At 4K, he's someone that I do like, especially given the matchup with the Washington Commanders. They are giving up an average of 18.6 DK points to opposing quarterbacks thus far this season. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers kind of hurt that average a little bit with them just really not playing well offensively in the receiver position. A few drops and whatnot. Some plays that could have been big plays that just weren't made. I'm not saying like Sam's going to be able to go out and make those plays, but at the very least, maybe he's able to get you a touchdown. Maybe he throws for 200 passing yards. At the very least, he should be able to hit value, like 8 to 12 DK points. Certainly within the realm of possibilities. Maybe you get lucky and he throws for 20 DK points. Once again, this is just a play in which you make if you're trying to fit the studs into your builds. So Derrick Henry is kind of just the top easy running back play on the slate. Okay, the volume has been there like we thought it would be. Okay, 4 straight weeks of over 25 opportunities in a game. almost averaging like 30 opportunities over the last 4 weeks, guys. It is crazy. The amount of usage that Derrick Henry is currently getting is absolutely insane. And honestly, you could make a strong argument that he should be higher priced than this. He is going against the Houston Texans, a defense that has given up an average of over 30 DK points per game to the running back position. This is the easiest matchup on the slate. We are getting a high volume running back at still a relatively cheap price point for the amount of touches, for kind of the safety that he has. So Derrick Henry is a very logical play. He's a very strong starting running back play. And then we get into Travis Etienne. This is more of a volume-based play. We look at Travis Etienne. He saw 80% of the snaps last week, and that was because James Robinson didn't really play much, and now James Robinson has been traded to the New York Jets. Okay, so that should mean that the volume should continue to be there for Travis Etienne, although I expect maybe Snoop Connor to be active and maybe Jermichael Hasty eats into that workload a little bit. The issue that I have with Travis Etienne is although that he's playing a lot of snaps, the opportunities haven't been locked in. They're 80% of the snaps, and I guess he had 19 opportunities, but he was only able to bring that in for 1 reception and 15 rushing attempts. Now, he did have 100 yards rushing, which is highly encouraging. That is kind of him, though. He is kind of I would say, low volume, big play running back. So it is a little bit risky, especially against the Denver Broncos, a matchup in which I haven't been particularly trying to target. But at the very least, he is someone that I do think will be able to hit value, and maybe, those targets continue to be there for him, but this time he finally catches those to have a nice safe floor. Maybe he catches or gets about 5 DK points in the passing game. So 5.8, a decent starting price point for him, a decent player that you can put into your builds. I do also like Raheem Mostert in the third best matchup on the slate for opposing running backs at 5.9. This is a very cheap price point for a guy that is gaining around 20 opportunities per game. Okay. For a guy that has went for over 20 DK points 2 out of the last 3 weeks. You look at the matchup, it's not a matchup that we're worried about. The Detroit Lions are giving up an average of over 30 DK points per game to opposing running backs. Maybe they want to take a little bit of the workload off of Tua, a little bit maybe. This could be a higher scoring game as well. Mostert just makes a lot of sense. The thing I'm struggling with is that, you're either going Mostert or Travis Etienne is kind of what it seems like for me. Maybe you could play both of them, maybe one of them in the flex, but I do like a couple of these other options a little bit more, I think, than Mostert and Etienne possibly. So Deonta Foreman, I do just want to call out. Chuba Hubbard was banged up, had to leave the game. He does seem like he's going to play. If he were to sit, then Foreman would become a very strong play. He saw 17 opportunities and 19.5 DK points. Obviously, we're not expecting that, but Atlanta is going to be a little bit better of a matchup. And then on the flip side, that I actually do really like Tyler Algier. Tyler Algier has been seeing the snap count go up and up each week. And, he's been producing and looking pretty good doing it. So defenses know what the Atlanta Falcons are going to do. They're going to try to run the ball. So I'm not too worried about the yards per carry per se, especially because 4 of his rushing attempts were goal line rushing attempts. That kind of hurts the average. He was able to punch in a rushing touchdown. Now we're going against the Carolina Panthers, which is going to be his best matchup thus far since he's taken over for that starting running back position. I kind of think this could easily be a breakout game for him this week. The only issue is that sooner rather than later, I think we're going to see Cordero Patterson potentially back, which would then eat into Tyler Algier's workload. But at 5.4, I do think that's a strong price point play. He's a player that I think could go off on this slate. And then lastly, just a standout play on this slate, Devin Singletary. He's kind of the player that I've been teasing a little bit. Devin Singletary at 5.9 just seems way too cheap. One, for the offense going against the Buffalo Bills, or in the Buffalo Bills offense, absolutely spectacular. And he's playing about 80% of the snaps. In the last game, we saw 86% of the snaps. That was a close scoring game. Okay, so maybe that's the worry. Maybe the Bills blow out the Packers. Okay, but still, he saw 17 rushing attempts, 5 targets last game, was able to score 14.7 DK points. He has been a high volume running back, and he's only had 1 touchdown, a safe running back play, playing a lot of snaps. He just kind of seems due for a really strong breakout game. Okay, so Devin Singletary, I do like a lot. And the Green Bay Packers do seem to be getting progressively worse against that position, the running back position. So Devin Singletary is a play that makes a lot of sense. And that's kind of the issue I'm having is that Derrick Henry, easy play. And then we're going Travis Etienne or Mostert or Singletary. DraftKings has finally priced up the receivers, finally. Devontae Adams, he had been priced up, okay? But he's a play that I like going against the Saints, who are pretty banged up in the secondary. He's a guy that, just been seeing a high volume of targets. 7 targets is his lowest target share thus far this season. He's been extremely consistent fantasy producer thus far. It wouldn't be shocking to see him go for 20 DK points in this game. He's a player that I like paying up for, especially if you have that salary. Tyreek Hill's finally priced up correctly. I guess he was last slate, but the previous one's not really priced up correctly. Still getting a high volume targets. Guys, like, it is crazy. Going against Detroit, once again, a matchup that you want to be targeting. The target share is going to continue to be there for him. The safety for Tyreek Hill should continue to be there for him. A nice high floor player that could easily break the slate. So he's another player that I really like on this slate. Then I do like Chris Godwin. I know like the high ceiling game has not been there for him just yet, but the floor games have been there for him. He's getting targeted a ton. Look at the last 4 weeks, 10, 6, 12, and 13 targets, getting around 90% of the snaps as well, averaging over 10 DK points per game. Like, he is a nice high floor play going against the Baltimore Ravens, a plus matchup. Like, he is eventually going to score a touchdown and eventually going to have like a couple of big plays in which he kind of breaks the slate. I'm going to continue to kind of take the price discount with Chris Godwin and feel good about it. I honestly am very shocked that Chris Olavi is at this price point. Okay, I know he's not playing like a ton of snaps, like only 76% of the snaps last week. Like, okay, that could be why, but he is getting targeted a ton, guys. You look at since week 1, 13, 7, 6, 14 targets. Like, we could potentially get a guy that's going to get 10 targets in a game at 6K. And for a guy that's looked really good thus far this season, like probably the best rookie receiver thus far at 6K in a plus matchup, that is a very intriguing price point play for me. Chris Olavi makes a lot of sense for me on this slate. And then from there, Brandon Cooks playing about 90% of the snaps. Now, he is someone that it's kind of been strange, okay? 5 targets last week, 8.6 DK points, 6 targets in week 5, 6 DK points. Like, the targets have been there. The playing time's been there. It just seems like he is due for a breakout game. And the price point just keeps kind of dwindling down. And maybe this is a good spot to take advantage of it going against the Tennessee Titans, a defense in which is like the 3rd best matchup on the slate, giving up about 45 DK points per game to receivers. So Brandon Cooks could be in for a breakout game, I guess, unless he gets traded. He could potentially, I could see that potentially happening as well. From there, I'm kind of mad at myself for kind of missing the DJ Moore breakout game, because if you think about it, like Christian McCaffrey getting used a lot in the passing game, it just makes sense for the next best athlete in that offense to get a high target volume. And like, he is a player that had been getting open a ton. Just the quarterback play had been rough. Like, I'm kind of mad at myself for that. At 4.9, like, the thought process could have been there for that. Okay, he did score 19.6 DK points. He did play in 100% of the offensive snaps last week for the Carolina Panthers. This week he gets a matchup with the Atlanta Falcons that have been progressively getting worse. Like, I don't think they're a terrible defense. They just keep giving up a couple of big plays here and there. Okay, so DJ Moore is someone that I do think could see, 10 targets again, could have a similar productive game. Maybe only scores about 15 DK points in this one, but I do think I'm trusting it. I do think what we saw last week is a sign of things to come. Then the last core play I see is going to be Alec Pierce. One thing I like to do is I kind of like to target the backup to backup connection. I think maybe Alec Pierce and Sam Ellinger were, getting a lot of practice reps together. There should be some chemistry there, I would imagine. That is just me guessing. Okay, but Alec Pierce is a rookie receiver that has looked good thus far. Last week was his worst DFS week, although it's his highest snap share. He played 97% of the snaps last week for the Indianapolis Colts. So if that continues in this matchup, he should be someone that gets to like 12 DK points like he had done the last 3 weeks. So he's another sneaky value price point play that I like a lot on this slate. From there, we're just going to pick up the pace at the tight end position. We got Harrison Bryant with David Njoku out. I do think he's going to step into a higher snap share. He had been playing about 50% of the snaps, played in 57% of the snaps last week. At the tight end position, I just have been finding myself just like playing the lowest price tight end play that's going to have a decent floor. I do think that's going to be Harrison Bryant. Maybe gets us like 6 DK points, and I'd be happy with that. I will say I might just end up on Greg Dulcich again. Didn't play as many snaps I would have thought last week. I think it was like 59% of the snaps, which was down from like 75% of the snaps in the previous week. But he did see 9 targets, did have 6 receptions, was able to score double-digit DK points once again. And he is still not priced up enough for kind of still a guy that is getting a decent amount of snaps and a lot of targets. So I do still like Greg Dulcich on this slate. But we do have to watch out for Tanner Hudson. He is a pass-catching tight end. And with Daniel Bellinger ruled out in this game, Tanner Hudson could be someone that steps up into a more prominent role. Okay, he hasn't really done anything yet. This is like the preseason tight end GOAT. That's really what we're hanging our hat on. He did play 39% of the snaps last week, which if he takes over for Daniel Bellinger, it should be about 70% of the tight end snap. And then defensively, obviously we don't have enough here, so we'd have to make some changes to our build. But I don't mind the Bears as the lowest priced defense that's not going to go negative. Like, their lowest DK point total was 4 thus far this season. Obviously against New England, they played well. well. This is a very solid defense. So like for now, I don't mind starting out with like the Bears D as a defense to go with. I think a lot of people are going to go with the Washington Commanders, a team that, shut down Aaron Rodgers last week and are going against a rookie quarterback. That could be a route that you go. I don't particularly like that too much. And then maybe go with the Patriots defense, a defense that has been solid this whole season thus far, going against the Jets, an offense that looked kind of bad last week. And that is the first look build there for you guys. Thanks for watching, guys. I do appreciate it. If you enjoyed the coverage, make sure to give a like and subscribe. If you guys want to become a 9to5 member, get access to the NFL DFS cheat sheet as well as the NFL DraftKings lineup optimizer. It's only $10 a month just for that value alone to get a pretty good lineup optimizer just for $10 a month. That's a great value. On top of that, it is a golf membership at its whole. It is a premium golf membership there. $10 a month for that. Great value. And then we also are covering NBA. The NBA DFS cheat sheet is included in that as well. If you guys want to join, links in the description below. If not, like and subscribe. That helps the channel. Let's have a good week, guys. And as always, let's keep cashing.